Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the weekly Mandalorian episode reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing chapter 15 which is The Believer. Yep. And we're going to share our non-spoiler thoughts first, so don't worry about it for the first 2 minutes. We'll give you a warning when we start going into spoilers. But yeah, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was great. Not great, actually. That's a bit of an overstatement. I thought it was, relative to the other episodes, it was good. In a vacuum, I'd say it was really good. I liked a lot of the things they did with, obviously, we knew that Mayfeld's coming back based on last week's episode.
Yeah.
And I liked the stuff they did with Mayfeld. I thought it was interesting. And yeah, it was just pretty good overall. I wouldn't say it was one of my favourite episodes of the season. It's probably my second least favourite, but that's not to say it's bad. It's not like the second episode in my opinion. I think it's a lot better than that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that, but I was a bit confused as you know. I was talking to you about some of the thoughts I had straight after the episode. I was a bit confused at some points, and I also was a bit skeptical why they made those decisions when they felt like they maybe should have been left for later or done a bit differently. In my opinion, that's what I think anyway.
I've got no clue what you're talking about there. I guess we'll find out about that later.
But yeah, overall, it was actually a decent episode. I actually really enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. I thought maybe it's the penultimate episode of this season. I thought they could have maybe done a slightly better job of linking it in, but I don't know. Maybe they should have switched the order and have this episode be the one the previous chapter 14, and this one should have been chapter 15. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done that. I did think it was a bit of a filler sort of episode, but nonetheless, it was actually very interesting at the same time, so I didn't really mind. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. A very good episode overall, as they've been very consistent this season.
Yeah,
they've been very consistent throughout the whole show.
Yeah, there's not an episode of this show that I'd say is horrendous. There's just there's episodes that I'd say I like less than the others, but I wouldn't say there's a single terrible episode in this whole show. So, which is good.
I mean, yeah, and I think that's hats off to everyone who worked on the show.
Yeah.
And stuff, which obviously we got yesterday at the Disney investors meeting.
That'll be another
a video on.
Other separate video.
That's a whole other
stuff that was happening, yeah.
Mad video that we're going to make. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, definitely well done to everyone who's worked on the show. Can't wait for the season finale next week. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I have to say about the non-spoiler thoughts. So should we get into the spoilers?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Right, you've been warned. Spoiler review now. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, click off this video, go watch it, and then come straight back here. So yeah, chapter 15,
The Believer.
The Believer. We'll do the chronological order sort of thing again.
Yeah, I guess there wasn't a huge amount that really, in terms of huge story progression that happened in this episode. I guess the first big thing that happened is we saw some sort of Imperial junkyard or a ship junkyard, and then obviously,
I think it was a mining thing they were saying.
I'm on about when Mayfeld's in prison, where the
yeah. That's where the episode
that was some weird junkyard place, and then of course Kara goes there with her new badge because she works for the New Republic now, and then she's going to tell Mayfeld that it's time to come with me, basically, because we're going to go and do a mission, and then we see. He says, where are you taking me? And then we see Boba Fett walk out, and Boba Fett's armor has gotten some touch-ups.
It looks very clean.
Yeah, he's fixed a lot of it.
Job.
It looks a bit like the comic, the pictures of Boba Fett from the comics, where the colours are very similar. And he's also got his E3 back, which is his gun. And
he looks like the I think, is it the vintage action figure that they made where the colours were very bright.
Oh yeah, about the original vintage one.
Yeah, the original one where the colours were very clean and bright.
Yeah.
It just basically looks like his armor's just been repainted.
Yeah. And also
to maybe when it was first made.
Yeah.
Well, not first made, but when it was first painted.
He's also done some touching up to his jetpack as well, because his jetpack looks like the One from Empire Strikes Back. It didn't have the yellow on it like it did in Return of the Jedi, which is cool. And then he also had his
and
gun
he's still
back.
got his black cloth undergarments on. So he hasn't switched back to the jumpsuit quite yet. We don't know if he will, but I actually like the new look for Boba Fett with the
so
black
it's
undergarments.
interesting.
I think it looks really
good.
Yeah, we see Boba Fett, and then Mayfeld's like, "Oh, I thought you were some other guy," and then Mando walks out.
Yeah, and then he's obviously like, "Hello, Mando, long time no see." And then they go on to Slave One, which is one thing I was interested in. I was like, how are they all going to fit in Slave One? But then they show that the cargo hold can kind of like tilt and turn to like be a seating area when it's flying, and like obviously when it's in the landing position as well. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I think we saw Slave One like quite a bit this episode, which is decent.
And there's one scene later in this episode that made me happy with what they did with Slave One, but I guess we'll get to that later.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
We see this sort of confrontation between Mando and Mayfeld, obviously saying, "I need you to help me get the." Well, he says, I think is it Caro says, he's lost his kid or something. They have his kid.
Yeah.
And Mayfeld's like the little green guy, like acting all confused, like you're not green. It's not your kid.
Yeah.
But
and he's kind of like, you're still with that thing. Like he must have been shocked, obviously, that. He's like,
but like acting surprised. And Mayfeld makes a joke, which is one thing I was mentioned to you earlier, which I actually found really funny in the episode. I don't remember what he says. He says something to Boba Fett.
He says something about, he says like, something about cold and something like that. Something about, and then he says just like him, and then Boba Fett and he's pointing at Mando, and then Boba Fett just stares at him. I think he was talking about.
Boba Fett just gives him the most like disgusted look I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that was I laughed so much at that part. I liked a lot of that humor. I feel like it fits well into this show as well.
Yeah. One thing
the show can be serious when it wants to, but then also like kind of lighthearted when it wants to as well.
One thing I wasn't the biggest fan of was that they're basically just using Boba Fett as a taxi driver in the show. Like he's basically just there to drop them off, and then he just doesn't do anything for the rest of the episode. And then he does stuff at the end, which is pretty cool. But like I wish they maybe let Boba Fett do a little bit more. That would have been cool.
I think the topic of this episode. Okay, should we just say they went to what do you remember the name of the planet? I don't actually remember the name of the planet.
No, I don't remember. No, I don't remember. I have to rewatch it.
I feel like it's called Norvac or something.
I don't remember. I'll have to rewatch it.
But basically, they go to this empty, sort of irrelevant planet.
Yeah.
Because Mayfeld needs to access a terminal to find Moff Gideon's ship. Basically, that's what the whole sort of reason for them going there. So they basically, I think they said that the nearest terminal, the easiest one to get to, is the one on this abandoned planet, which supposedly has nothing on it until you actually look deeper, and there's a mining facility, an Imperial mining facility. So they go there, and then they have to sort of infiltrate that mining facility, and they have this whole like conversation of who's actually going to go, because none of them can really go, and because they don't want to send Mayfeld in on his own, and they can't. Fennec can't go because obviously she was ex-Imperial, isn't she?
Yeah, and then Boba Fett can't go because he looks like a clone, so they'll recognize his face. Yeah.
And then Cara can't go because she's an ex-shock trooper.
Yeah.
So and then Mando can't go with his armor on because obviously Mandalorian armor. So basically, same reason as Boba Fett, or similar reason to Boba Fett. And
Boba Fett couldn't go because when he had to scan his face, he wouldn't have been able to show it because he looks like a clone. They would have been like, "Oh, why are you here?" I think that's why Boba Fett didn't go. I think
he said they might recognize me.
Yeah, he said they might recognize my face.
Assuming that he's like quite famous still within the like Empire. But. Yeah, so they basically come to this sort of conclusion that Mando has to take his armor off, his Beskar armor, which we've seen him use quite since the first half, from the second half of the first season to now.
It wasn't even the second half. It was like in the third episode. He got it really quick.
Oh yeah, he did. To be fair, we've seen him use it and it saved his life many countless times, saved other characters' lives, and he now has to take this off and replace it with this version of a stormtrooper, which I don't actually know the name of the trooper.
It looks quite a bit like the hover tank pilots from Rogue One, but they were black, so I guess they were like black versions of those.
So yeah, they have to sort of infiltrate it's that carrier thing. It's carrying what is it, rhydonium or something?
Yeah,
some metal.
That was it. Yeah, it's like the sort of chemical. I don't know if it's a chemical or it's like some sort of element.
We can assume it was going to be probably made for like some use for some explosive.
Yeah.
They have to infiltrate the carrier for that. They sort of who takes it? Does Kara beat them up?
Yeah. She beats the guys up and gets the armor for Mayfeld and Mando.
Yeah, so we see Kara just beat them up and get the armor. Mando then changes, and then Mayfeld basically just starts taking the mick out of him.
Yeah.
You can tell Mayfeld's having fun with it because obviously Mandalorian's not in his armor, and he's saying, well, what would the Mandalorians think? Imagine if you were on Mandalore right now, and all this sort of stuff.
And I liked that. I liked with Mayfeld that they were like, we had that back and forth between him and Mando where he's like, think about it, we're all the same because, like, we're fighting for causes, but do we actually have a choice? And I thought that was like an interesting dynamic, an interesting development with Mayfeld, where he was, saying about how the Mandalorians, like, did all the ones who were fighting in all the wars and all that sort of stuff, did they actually believe in the stuff they were fighting for? Or was it just them just doing it because they had to? I thought all that stuff was like really interesting.
I feel like that is like a big part of Mayfeld's character development in this episode,
and that was the best part of this episode, in my opinion. Yeah, because I actually really enjoyed Mayfeld.
Because when they like sort of hinted last episode that Mayfeld's gonna return, I wasn't that excited because I didn't know it would be like this. I thought it may be something sort of like goes along the sort of lines of they're just gonna keep him how he was in episode 6,
but they're not really going to develop his character. It takes like 10 years, and it should be annoying.
Yeah, and then they're not really going to develop his character, but they actually they took it a different approach, and it actually worked because they actually got a lot of character development in. So we see this like back and forth conversation between Mando and Mayfeld. Mayfeld actually makes some very good points. Also a slight bit of foreshadowing, which we'll talk about in like a little bit later. They get attacked by some pirates. Yeah. A lot of pirates, actually. Not some, like a lot of them.
I thought it was kind of convenient how the thermal detonate takes like 10 years to just explode, even though it should just explode instantly, but I guess that's the suspension of disbelief sort of thing. But, that was pretty cool. They fight the pirates. The action was decent. Wasn't as good as last week's
I guess
episode.
we see the, one thing I wanted to mention, we see the effects of Mando not actually having his Beskar armor because he gets hit a few times.
That's what I was going to say, because usually he's just basically indestructible, but because he's not used to having just indestructible armor, when he gets hit, like, breaks his armor off and starts messing it up.
Yeah, it's actually, like, interesting to see how he actually does get hit. Like, he gets hit a lot of the time, actually. We saw this last episode when he just jumped in front of Fennec, taking, like, next to, like, 1,000 amount of shots, but he got hit like a few times this episode, and obviously because he wasn't wearing the Beskar, it just broke off. And it's interesting to see how Mando was sort of adapting while like he was like sort of trying to dodge and stuff more, because usually when he's got his armor on, he doesn't really dodge, he sort of just pushes forward. But here he had to think more tactically, so yeah, that was also nice to see. But at the end of the day, the pirates got taken out essentially by TIE fighters, because they were about to get sort of swarmed by an endless amount of them after they killed like 2 ships worth, and then TIE fighters came and then destroyed them. And they got back to the mining facility, and they were actually being applauded by a lot of everyone that was there.
Yeah, all the stormtroopers just kind of sitting like
all the stormtroopers and is it the Scarif troopers?
They were Scarif stormtroopers. I guess you call them shore troopers. That's their technical name.
Yeah, so it's nice seeing those return as well. I like the design for those in Rogue One. They look good here as well, I guess. So it's nice to see those return as well. And then, we just basically, Mayfeld and Mando just sort of hop off and like, let's just go and get this going now, basically. We had like this nice sort of, I thought it was nice, but this sort of conversation between Kara and Fennec. Yeah. And at one point, I did think, is Fennec gonna betray them? I don't know. I just had a feeling that Fennec might I did have this thought that because I was obviously watching theory videos and stuff, and people were obviously talking about Boba Fett potentially betraying Mando.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe
in-
Boba Fett could. I guess Fennec's with Boba Fett, so that could
Fennec would follow him, I'm guessing. So
Yeah.
I thought could that happen this episode, but it didn't. But I think it's leaning towards like more like Fennec may be joining the Republic possibly. And yeah, we get this sort of conversation between them, and then Bando and Mayfeld go to try and find the terminal. They do find one in like some cafeteria area.
Yeah.
And then they have to Mayfeld has to go and scan his face on it to get I think is it the coordinates for Moff Gideon's
Yeah,
ship
it's the coordinates to the ship.
And then he sees his old is it commander?
Yeah, it was like some general or admiral, I think, and he used to serve under him, obviously. That's why he was apprehensive of going in there, because he's like, I'm not going in there because he might recognise me. So then Mando decides that he'll go in there, and then we see him obviously walk in, and he tries his best to not take his helmet off. He scans himself without taking the helmet off, but then in the end, he doesn't have a choice, and he has to take his helmet off. And he takes his helmet off, and we see Pedro Pascal's face, and he scans it, and that was a shock. I wasn't expecting them to just go like that out of nowhere. I'm happy
was the decision that I was saying at the start that
I'm happy they didn't make a big deal out of it. That's what I'd say, because I didn't think that they should like that. Because in universe, obviously, without like the Mandalorian's context and all that, it means nothing to take your helmet off. But obviously to the Mandalorians it means a lot, but to everyone else it's just normal. So it just kind of.
Well, even to like other Mandalorians, it doesn't mean anything. Like Bo-Katan and Sabine and all those.
Yeah, but they're not
old Mandalorians.
Children of the Watch. Remember, they established that as a thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't like have the details of who they actually are yet, but apparently they wanted to go back to old Mandalorian ways. So I guess that's like the ways of like very old Mandalorians who probably didn't want to show their faces. For, I don't know, some purpose. But then he takes his helmet off, which I don't know. I feel like he exaggerates. Well, not exaggerates it, but he says so much. I cannot remove this helmet. And this was the foreshadowing part I was talking about. Mayfeld was like, he was saying when they were going before to the mining facility, he was like, everyone has their boundaries until like something they care about like means they have to cross them. Yeah. And then without like a shadow of a doubt, they'll just cross them.
And obviously like, without the child, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and that's the foreshadowing moment. I like that bit of foreshadowing because I noticed it when he obviously took his helmet off. And we do see Pedro Pascal's face a lot cleaner than the last time we saw him because he was bleeding out last time.
Mangled and messed up, yeah.
I guess it's nice to see him look a bit more cleaned up. And if we like in season 3, if he decided to take his helmet off like normally, how all the other Mandalorians do, I wouldn't mind. I think it actually looks good. But he was in different armor. He wasn't in his best armor.
Yeah, he was in the hover type pilot looking armor.
Yeah, and I guess that also one quick thing. The Black Series Mando build-up pack comes with the removable helmet, and we thought, why does he come with a removable helmet? Because he doesn't actually remove his helmet. Well, this could foreshadow. That could also foreshadow that he might start removing his helmet more.
Yeah,
maybe.
Comes the helmet that doesn't look much like Pedro Pascal. So that's not really part of this video, I guess.
Yeah, that's all a different like topic. But yeah, we see he takes his helmet off. Now I don't know how I felt about that decision. I felt like I don't know. I felt like exaggerates it so much, like I need to keep this helmet on. I need to keep this helmet on, otherwise I'm not a Mandalorian anymore, sort of thing.
I think that's where the show's headed. Like it's trying to explore what it really means to be a Mandalorian. That maybe like if you don't follow all the like ridiculous rules, like you can't take off your helmet and all that kind of stuff. But if you actually like follow what a real Mandalorian should be, then maybe that's like the message of the show, that you like that's what makes you a Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I think the Mayfeld like speech where he said like about the boundaries thing, I think that did sort of help it a bit more, because I think that might have made Mando realize that I have to do what is needed to like get the child back. And I guess we see that like what he's prepared to do. But yeah, he does that, and then there's the big reveal: this is the first time we see him without his helmet this season. And then the old Mayfeld's old commanding officer or what admiral.
Commanding
whatever,
officer is probably a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, calls them over and we think he's about to sort of maybe get him arrested, get both of them arrested because they're acting a bit suspicious. But then he just says, "I want to buy you a drink for getting that rhydodium thing back." So he was basically just congratulating them for bringing that chemical thing back to the mining facility, and then they had a sigh of relief. And at this point, I thought Mando was going to maybe put the stormtrooper helmet back on, but he just didn't. He's fully just
well, I guess
went along with it.
I guess if when he called them over, if he's gonna offer him a drink, he's not gonna drink with his helmet on, I guess.
Yeah, and then he gives them the drink, and then we have this
conversation
between him and
Mayfeld. Yeah, when Mayfeld's kind of bringing up what he brought up earlier, where he's questioning why do they do the things they do in war? What's the point of it? If you get what I'm saying, they risk their lives to kind of invade. He was saying the people. What about all the people who were defending their homes from the Empire, and all the soldiers whose lives were wasted because obviously they were his friends. But which in the movies, obviously, we just glance over them. They're just cannon fodder for the characters. But in this, they're kind of developing it, saying, look at the stormtroopers. What if they don't agree with it? For example, someone like Mayfeld, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, who might have been actually forced into doing these things, and his friends might have been forced. Which talks about this battle where a lot of lives were lost, and he was clearly in this battle.
Yeah, and that
was
officer
obviously
was making all the decisions.
Commanding officer, making the decisions, and then we see Mayfeld getting very frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Mando looks at him and sort of shakes his head, saying, "Don't react but in a bad way. Let's just get out of here peacefully." But then obviously Mayfeld's filled up with anger and just shoots him. Shoots the commanding officer, not Mando. He shoots the commanding officer, not Mando.
He decided to just pull the gun out, pop Mando in the head. That would have been a good twist, wouldn't it?
And then it would have been the end of the show. But basically, he shoots the commanding officer, then Pedro Pascal's face. It's so weird seeing his facial expressions during all of this because we've never seen his face properly before. We've seen it obviously when he was getting that spray by IG-11, and we haven't actually seen it properly before, in a normal situation. And it's funny. I don't know. I find it funny to see him react to certain things. And basically, they just shoot their way out of the place.
Yeah,
they shoot their way out of that sort of canteen thing.
Back to Slave One.
Yeah, Fennec and Cara sniping from afar, which is nice to see. Yeah, they run back to Slave One, get a pickup from Boba Fett.
And Mayfeld snipes the place and blows the whole facility up. And then
TIE fighters follow
them. And then Boba Fett shoots the seismic charge out of the back of the Slave One, and it makes the same noise from Attack of the Clones that everyone loves. And they destroyed the TIE fighters. That was pretty sick. That was one of my favourite moments.
That was my favourite part of the episode, personally.
Aside from the ending, that was one of my favourite parts, because obviously seeing that seismic charge, and obviously we saw it in Battlefront again recently, but hearing it again in live action and then just seeing him blow up the TIE fighters was sick.
And so basically we see Boba Fett land Slave One away from the facility, which is now destroyed. Cara and Mando and Mayfeld all get out, and then they have a little conversation. Mayfeld's okay, go on, put the handcuffs on me, let's go back to prison. And Cara pretends he died in the explosion, the factory explosion, just so he can escape. And he's quite confused at first. He's what? Yeah. What are you going on about? And then they're looking at him, and Mando's just go, just quickly, just go. And then he sort of runs off, and then Mando and Cara get back into Slave One. They fly away, and then we get the cut back to
Moff Gideon, the first time that we see
Star Destroyer. Or Moff Gideon's ship, as they still call it. They don't call it a Star Destroyer or anything.
I guess it's technically not a Star Destroyer, so it basically is. It takes the place of one.
Yeah, so we cut back. We see that same officer, that woman that's been talking to him for the whole season, telling him different things that have been happening. I saw at this part that we might have seen Grogu.
Which, by the way, first episode of the entire show without Grogu in it.
Yeah, so they could have showed him if they wanted to at that part possibly, but they didn't. So fair enough to them. I don't think him actually being somewhere in the episode would have contributed to this like
I think it just
whatsoever.
would have been forced.
Obviously that officer obviously says to him, we need you to see something. He comes to his like hollow table thing, and a message from Mando appears,
and he repeats
like
the same
video
lines to him
message
from the first season, which was badass. That was like a cool moment.
Yeah, basically saying, you may think you know what you're in possession of, but you don't. I assure you don't.
Idea, and then
basically saying, I'm coming to get that child back.
And then he just cuts it off, and then
yeah.
Moff Gideon looks scared.
And then he even says, he goes, he will be with me soon, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah.
And then Moff looks very, very worried.
Yeah, and then it's done.
Which I didn't think he'd be phased, but he does look quite phased. I guess.
I mean, then again, he's got stormtroopers as his army. I don't think he's going to stand much of a chance. I thought that at first. I was like, why is he getting worried? He's got a whole army. Then I remembered, the stormtroopers. So, and I don't think he's got much to worry about.
Whenever like anyone takes the mick out of stormtroopers, I always remember that clip of when one stormtrooper bangs his head off the door and flies down. I always remember that clip. That clip just is so funny.
Apparently, that
anyway,
guy got bad. Like his head got damaged or something, like quite badly.
Was that meant to be an accident?
Yeah. They didn't do that on purpose. They added the noise afterwards.
I still think it's quite funny, but Moff looks very worried.
Yeah.
Which he probably should be because Boba Fett's also there. Which he doesn't know about. Oh, actually, no, he does.
Yeah,
he does. That might be why he's worried, but who knows? I guess we'll find out next episode. But this episode was around 35 minutes, 36 minutes long. So
I think. Don't quote me on that.
I think we can expect like possibly the longest episode ever next episode, because I think they still have a lot to do. I think the only way we might not expect a long episode is if next episode left on some sort
cliffhanger,
of cliffhanger.
Like Empire Strikes Back style.
So but I think we should probably expect maybe like an hour episode, maybe a tiny bit more. But yeah, pretty much that's all that really happens this episode. It's very interesting, but also like
as long as they do good character stuff, I'm happy.
Yeah, I think I actually like that as well, and I feel like we could potentially see Mayfeld maybe in a future series, possibly.
Yeah, maybe he could be in Rangers of the New Republic, the show
which has recently been announced yesterday.
We'll talk about it.
Obviously, that Disney meeting thing was actually mad. Like they announced so much, and we will be doing a video like covering like most of that stuff. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But pretty much that's really all I have to say for the episode. It was a good episode. Even though there wasn't much story progress, it was actually quite a lot of interesting content.
Yeah, good character progression in my opinion for Mayfeld and the Mandalorian.
Yeah, even though I still questioning the helmet thing.
That was alright.
I think I'll probably get over it by the time next week's episode comes around. Yeah. So yeah. Pretty much that's all I have to say.
Me too. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop it a like. Be sure to share it with all your friends. Check out our Instagram, link in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. Also be sure to subscribe. If you guys like this video, and check out our playlist of other Mandalorian videos and reviews. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.